Mr. Chairman and Madam Secretary. Congratulations. I certainly agree with the Chairman that you are an ideal candidate for this position. My wife, Julie, sends her congratulations as well. And I want to begin by thanking you for your exceptional service to our nation. When you look at your background, it's just remarkable what you've done for this country. And I also just want to mention that you and your family, including your nieces, are a great example for all Americans. And I hope a lot of people are watching to hear the story of your family. It's very powerful. I appreciate your focus on modernizing the transportation system, but I really want to emphasize that it's going to be very difficult to do that without modernizing the federal permitting system. And you and I have had the opportunity to discuss some of these challenges, but just last year in a hearing in this committee, we had the head of the Seattle airport, SeaTac Airport, when he talked about how it took 4 years to build the new runway at SeaTac, but 15 years to get the federal permits to start building. There's stories all across the country that I know you're familiar with. In Alaska, we've had many nightmare scenarios. It took 20 years almost to permit a gold mine in my state. And you know, our country used to be the envy of the world in terms of building infrastructure projects responsibly on time. The 1,500-mile Alaska-Canada highway was built in under a year. And now in America, it takes on average 6 years to get a permit for a bridge. So if we're looking at infrastructure, a major infrastructure initiative, which I support, if we're not also undertaking major federal permitting, I think that we're not going to be successful in our infrastructure initiative. Do you see this as a major problem, and will you work with us both from your regulatory authority standpoint and legislation that we would undertake here and on the EPW committee to try to address this?
Yes, I would. Senator, you wrote a very, very good article in the Wall Street Journal about this particular issue. And what we hear from many investors and outside interests, just various stakeholders, is the duplicative and bureaucratic permitting that sometimes may occur. We want to make sure that the regulatory process works, but that also means getting rid of some of the redundancies and some of the unnecessary burdens. So you've certainly been a leader on that, and I look forward to working with you.
Well, we look forward to working with you as well. I would note that both the EPW committee, former Chairman Inhofe, and Chairman Thune were all very committed to that. One other area, and we want to work with you, and in that Wall Street Journal op-ed that you mentioned, I appreciate you commenting on that, but we are working on a major permitting reform bill called the Rebuild America Now Act, and certainly look forward to working with you and the rest of the Trump administration on those kind of permitting reforms. One other area I just wanted to mention, you know, we have all these opportunities with regard to energy in this country. We're once again the world's energy superpower, and yet the Obama administration has clearly politicized and delayed the permitting of pipelines. The Keystone XL pipeline took 8 years until the president finally pulled the plug on that. And the irony is that pipelines are much more safe than delivering by rail. So can we get your commitment to help us streamline the permitting of pipelines and to depoliticize what has become a very politicized permitting process with the current administration on that important area of permitting?
I look forward to working with you on this issue, as we've discussed, if I get confirmed.
Thank you. And finally, I will turn a little bit, as Senator Schatz had mentioned, to talk about Alaska and some of the rural areas. You know, we're a very resource-rich but infrastructure-poor state. At almost 600,000 square miles of land, Alaska is more than 2.5 times the size of Texas. We like to say in Alaska, if you split Alaska in two, Texas would be the third largest state in the country. But we only have 10,400 miles of paved roads compared to Texas, which has 313,000. Another comparison, Alaska is 118 times the size of Connecticut, but we have less than half the roads that Connecticut has. So if confirmed, will you commit to come to Alaska with me to meet with my constituents to help us address the unique challenges and opportunities with regard to infrastructure, roads, bridges, pipelines in Alaska that are not only important to my constituents, but really important to the nation?
I would be delighted to. In our courtesy meeting, Senator, you mentioned how important your office is in terms of convening important stakeholders to address these issues, and I'll be more than glad to help convene and also to help to participate in those as well.
Thank you. Thank you again for your great service to our country.
Thank you, Senator Sullivan. And the newly